So if 6 months, 8 months, a year down the road, you can't afford it, or this is taking food off the table, right? We're not going to do it. We're going to find something that's making sense. Something's a little bit better than nothing, right? And if you have coverage, we're going to add on, or we're going to try to fix it. We're going to figure out the situation. We're solving a problem. I'm not selling them life insurance. I'm solving their problem.
You're recruiting now, right? You got some people moving?
Yeah, we're trying to, get some people. I seen what this industry's done for me.
Yeah.
So I wanted to impact other people, right? And change other people's lives.
Right. And it's funny, too, once you start recruiting, it's like, you let's back up. When you're in sales, you deal with objections, right? You deal with clients and all their misconceptions of what we do.
Yeah.
But the same thing happens in recruiting because you get people that don't know anything about what we do yet. And when you don't know anything, I feel like you kind of fill that void with whatever's in your head.
Yeah.
And how many times have you heard statements like this, Gary? Like, I need to know more about the products before I get out there.
Yeah. Everybody. It's pretty much everybody.
Right. And that is actually a very incorrect statement to make. Because when you've met with people in home, you're doing virtual now or telesales?
Yep. Doing telesales.
So you've done both.
Yep.
How much did the product knowledge help you sell throughout your career? You've been with us 4 or 5 years now.
At the beginning, even the products, like figuring this thing out, I took too much time and tried to learn the products too much.
Okay. So you fell for that too.
Yeah, I did the same exact thing. I fell for it, right? So when I looked at it and people filled out a lead, they had a problem, right? The products are great because they sell themselves.
Sure.
Right? So when people filled out a lead, it was, hey, what's their problem? Why did they fill that out, right? Show that you care. You're trying to help them, right? Because a lot of the times when I talk to people on the phone, like the thing is, hey, I'm not a sales guy. I'm just here to help you.
Correct.
Right? I'm licensed to help you, not hurt you.
Right.
Right? So at the end of the day, these people, they filled out a lead. What is their problem? What are they trying to solve, right? Who did they think about when they filled that request out that they're trying to protect, right? And if you look at knowing that stuff, you can make 10, 20 mistakes.
Correct.
They don't care about you being perfect. They don't care that you know everything, right?
Right.
They just care that you're going to be there to help them, and you're doing best by them.
And let's be honest, the products are not that deep.
No.
Like, we're selling life insurance, you know? You get into like health insurance, that's a lot more complicated.
Yeah.
There's all different, homeowners, all this stuff, but life insurance is pretty damn simple.
Yeah.
There's a cost associated with it monthly. If you pay this premium and you die, whatever your face amount is goes to your beneficiary.
Correct.
Right? Now, what about riders and stuff? Well, if you have return of premium and you outlive your policy, you get your money back.
Yep.
If you have whole life, Gary, how long does it cover you for?
Your whole life.
Your whole life. If you have a 15-year term, it covers you for 15 years, right?
Correct.
Like, it's not that deep.
No, and that's why I had a conversation with an agent yesterday, and it was the same thing.
Yeah.
Hey, do you know the difference between term and whole life? And they're like, yeah, term's, for a certain amount of years, and whole life's your whole life. I said, perfect.
Right.
You know enough.
Correct.
Go out and help them.
Yep.
Right? You just know the basics. I mean, there's that little stuff if you don't know 100%. Hey, I want to make sure I know 95% the answer for this, but I want to be 100%. Let me just follow up with you. I'm going to ask my supervisor, right? If you don't know.
Right.
Right? Because
you get into like this paralysis by analysis almost, right? And then you're in the home over explaining the product.
Yeah.
But to your point, we have a problem we have to solve.
Exactly.
So how have you've obviously made that shift because but it's very normal too. So I'm saying not down on like the agent you're talking to or anyone else out there. It's a very normal thought to have that I need to know everything about everything before I get started.
Exactly. It's like a human reaction.
Yeah.
It's like just human, right?
Yep.
And it's natural.
Absolutely.
But it's just how quick can you transition out of that, and that's where you're going to start making the pathway to helping people and start really being successful in this.
Absolutely. So when you made that shift, obviously you've hit Hall of Fame a couple of times. You come back on that pace again this year. So what does that mean? That means you know how to sell. It means you know how to have success in our business, right?
Yeah.
So now how is the approach different? Obviously you've been around, so you do know the products. But how much of, like when you're in this appointment, whether it's in home, on the phone, what percentage of the time are you talking about the product, and what percentage of the time are you digging into the actual problem?
It's probably, it's 5%, like on basics. Hey, this is, we're going to try to see if we can get you eligible day one, right?
Yep.
Basic stuff of the whole life. Because the more information I gave them, the more confused they got.
Correct.
And the more you got a rejection of, hey, I got to think about it. Because you throw so much at them, now you even confuse them even more.
Yep.
So you kind of didn't want to, I want to see what the problem is, figure out the problem, right? Give them real basics, whole life, day one coverage, your premiums are never going to go up, right? If something happens, God forbid, in 6 months or 6 years, it's going to be there for them.
Right.
So I think explaining that and just obviously dissecting the problem, right? And I say probably the problem 2-3 times because it's a painting of the picture for them, right? Because a lot of times when you're talking to them, they're not really thinking about what they did when they filled that request out, whether that's, 48 hours ago or, 4 weeks ago, right? So you got to make them understand. And then that's building trust, right? So I think that's a lot of it.
Absolutely.
Right? So,
and I think it's different than most sales. Like, it is still sales, but it's because it's a lead-based sale. And to your point, there was some type of emotional trigger that caused them to fill out that form, caused them to call in. Like, something happened, and you've been around long enough. Sometimes it's something as simple as, this is usually guys, they went to the doctor, and doctor was like, hey, Gary, your blood pressure is a little high. Yeah. And all of a sudden they're like, oh, my God, I got to get life insurance. Okay. Yeah. Or this happens a lot, too. A relative, a neighbor, a friend of theirs passed, and they're about the same age, right? Like, oh, man, I'm 40, and my 40-year-old neighbor just died of a heart attack. Shit, I better get checked out. Very normal, right? So there's usually something that caused them to fill it out, but you're exactly right. By the time you get there, a lot of times that's in the back of their mind. Yeah. And you got to bring them back to that.
Exactly.
But if we were in sales where there were no leads and people weren't reaching out to us, then I understand why the product needs to be your selling point. Yeah. Right? Like, if I'm cold calling, door knocking, and I'm like, hey, Gary, you want to buy life insurance? I got to sell you hard on this product. Yeah. Or whatever I'm selling, this vacuum cleaner, this, this Tupperware, whatever the hell it is, these knives. The product's got to be badass. Yeah. Now, our products are badass. Yeah. But it's more about that problem, that void that, Sean always used to say, it's like there's a dam and there's a hole in the dam. Yeah. And we got to fill that. Exactly. We got to find out what we're going to fill that with. Exactly. So kind of bring us through, Gary, your process and how you're uncovering that problem, how you're bringing them back to that emotional point, and then move in, and basically how you're selling your client life insurance.
So my main thing is obviously those first 15, 30 seconds are most crucial because you're trying to separate yourself from being like a telemarketer, right? Of how many calls we get and all that stuff. So my first thing is, hey, John, this is Gary Ahlberg, just getting back to you regarding the state-regulated final expense benefits. You put your date of birth as blank. Yeah. So I'm just relating to their info. And then the biggest thing, too, if there's a beneficiary section, I'm always getting the beneficiary's name. Yeah. And I'm always using names because it means a lot more than spouse, right? And I probably repeat it 2 to 3 times before I go into, how the application's going to go. Yeah. Right? Because I want them to follow my lead. I'm not asking them questions, hey, were you looking for life insurance? No, they filled out the lead. They were looking for it. Right. There's nothing that's going to convince me that they didn't. Correct. Right? So they were asking for help already. Yep. So then I'll start diving in, and then, the main concern with them is, hey, what problem are we trying to solve? What are we trying to accomplish, right? And I got a license to help you, not hurt you. So at the end of the day, we're going to find what makes sense for you, right? If you have coverage in place, you were looking either because you don't have enough, or you're trying to supplement, or maybe it was going to expire, right? So I try to dig into that stuff and figure it out. And I always say, hey, listen, if you got a policy already and it's great and there's nothing I could do to better it, keep it. Right. I'm here to help you, right? So I think it drops the defense for them a little bit, right? And I always say to them, hey, listen, I'm here to help you and solve the problem, right? So I'm not going to put something in place for you that you can't afford. Correct. So if 6 months, 8 months, a year down the road, you can't afford it, or this is taking food off the table, right? We're not going to do it. We're going to find something that's making sense. Something's a little bit better than nothing, right? And if you have coverage, we're going to add on, or we're going to try to fix it. We're going to figure out the situation. We're solving a problem. I'm not selling them life insurance. I'm solving their problem, you know? So it kind of takes the sales back off of it.
Absolutely.
And
it's in what you just said, what a lot of people, especially new agents, won't realize off the bat is you just remove so many objections.
Yeah.
We also get hung up. A couple mistakes we make early on. One is the whole, we got to sell we know everything about the product. The other thing is, I got to know how to overcome every objection, Gary. When they say this, what do I say back? Like, what are your best rebuttals? That's the worst way to think about this.
Yeah.
You want to remove most. Not that some of them still can't come up. Not that every once in a while you don't get to think about it, right?
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah, exactly.
But I bet when you do, you could probably pinpoint like, oh, I didn't do enough of this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I didn't sell the value enough. All these things like knowing the beneficiary's name and using that in the beginning, that's huge.
Oh, yeah.
How many times did you just say, this is what we're going to do?
Exactly.
It needs to feel like we're making a decision together. I always just say like, I'm making the decision for the client, but they feel like they're making the decision.
Exactly. And and I always like try to just tell them too, like, hey, it's not like buying a car where all of a sudden the payment was this a month, and then all of a sudden you go into the finance office and now it's $300 more a month. Right. I said, I'm talking you down. So you're going to have to sell me on why you think you need more.
Correct.
Right. So if you kind of downsell it, honestly, kind of them selling you, it's not you selling them anymore.
Yeah.
So now they're like, hey, well, John, he's like, well, I can afford a little more. Let me do 20,000. Are you sure?
Right.
Like, we're trying to prevent, right, you from not putting food on the table, or you not being able to afford this, right?
Yep.
And I think a lot of it too, and you get a lot of those objections where people are like, oh, well, I just can't afford it. Well, you can afford a cell phone bill.
Correct.
You can afford your cable.
Right.
Right. I'm not telling you to not pay your mortgage.
Right.
Right. So there's these other things. It's on a scale of 1 to 10. How important is it to you?
Yeah.
Right. And I'll ask them that. Right.
And if you're getting that, you screwed something up.
Yeah.
You didn't get the value. You didn't sell the value to them enough to where now they're going, I can't afford it. What
Exactly.
do you mean you can't afford not to have this?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it starts with your own belief level, right? Like, if you don't believe in life insurance, you can't sell life insurance.
Exactly.
Not at a high level. You may get a few policies here and there by accident, but you're going to get a lot more of the think about it, it's too expensive, I don't need it, it's just another bill. But you got to believe in it yourself first, right?
Exactly. And I think a lot of it, too, is like, hey, if it's too expensive for this premium, wait until you get the bill for the funeral.
Exactly.
Or wait until your wife has to pay for the mortgage on herself now. Now you lost an income.
Correct.
Like, what's that going to look like?
Yep.
Right? And I think it's just being comfortable saying the uncomfortable things, right? Because that really kind of makes it real for these people and kind of brings it out to them. So.
Yep. And, we're in the business of life insurance. People die. Hopefully we've covered them before that happens, right? But that's another part that brings it full circle and makes it real, right?
Yeah.
Like, do you remember your first death claim?
Oh, it's I actually my first death claim was crazy. I actually had one recently, like within the last 8 months.
Really?
Yeah, and they had a policy, and the wife called, and I was dealing with the funeral home and all this stuff because the funeral was going on and everything else, and then finally the check paid to her. And they only had the policy for like 8 months.
Really?
Yeah, and I was like, oh man, this is devastating. Sent flowers and everything online to him. I saw the obituary and all that stuff, and it like really hit home. Hey, what we do, is real.
Right.
Right. And she was kind of explaining their situation. I know their situation was rough. They couldn't afford it. Right. So that it really hits home of how real this stuff is, how much we actually do make an impact.
Yeah.
So.
Because I believe that would have happened either way, right? This person's going to pass. We're going to pass when we pass.
Yeah.
But the fact that you were able to meet this client and put that in place prior to, that's life-changing stuff. Like, you impact that family. Like, that's the thing about what we do. We impact families.
Yeah.
Good or bad, right? I've heard tons of stories of people that, I sat down with someone, I met with them over the phone, I was unable to help them, and then they passed. And then someone finds the card and calls you up, hey, Gary, did you help? No, unfortunately, I was unable to help that person. Yeah. That sucks. It does. We've all been there.
Yeah, actually, believe it or not, yesterday, one of the agents we work with, he actually got a voicemail from the son, right? And he's like, oh, you left my mom a voicemail, never got in touch with her about, life insurance and stuff like that. She was looking into it. I just got your voicemail. I'm calling you back. She had passed away.
Yeah.
And that was a month previously that we never got in touch with her. We left a voicemail, but he's calling back to see if she got coverage. Right. She didn't, unfortunately. Yeah. Right. So it's our fault. It's on us.
Absolutely.
So a lot of people are so scared to call people 3-4 times in a row, it's like, what's going to separate you from being a telemarketer?
Correct.
You know, it's like we're doing our job.
Yep.
And they're never going to answer the phone angry. Like, I'll call them 3-4 times in a row, and then if they start hanging up on me, I call them again.
Right.
Right? And they're like, oh, man, oh, okay, you are so-and-so. I thought you were somebody else, right?
Right. Yeah,
And
once you explain it, like, but that goes back to your mentality. Like, if you believe that I'm supposed to call this person, they fill this out because they want me to call them, then why wouldn't you call them a few times in a row? And then when they do, hey, what you call me so much for? Hey, you filled this thing out?
Yeah.
About the life insurance, remember that?
Yeah.
And immediately they're like, oh, yeah, I remember that.
They come back down to earth.
Right. Like, what are they going to do, scream at you for calling them when you asked them to call?
Yeah.
Or they asked you to call?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's crazy. It's nuts. And then it's like, hey, I'm just here to help you.
Right.
You know, that's all I'm trying to do. I'm getting back to you. I know it's important to you, right? So I'm just making sure I get back to you.
Yep.
Right.
It's that whole, I mean, Sean's old psychology of sales training was all based around that. Like, these people ask for help, but you got to believe that first. You got to convince yourself of that first.
Exactly.
Because that will come through when you're talking to them, right? Like, and you've gone through, I mean, early on you struggled, right? We talk about that on your True Talk. Like, you went through, what, a few weeks, a month or so where it was like just not happening. Couple months of just not the results that you're getting now, obviously. The thing about our business, too, is like, even when you're struggling, you're going to sell a few policies.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Because there's some people that you just walk in and they're ready, right? Or even on the phone, they're like, they're starting with their banking info. Like, well, calm down, dude. Let's find out like what you're eligible for first.
Yeah.
But that's not everybody. It's probably a third, right?
Exactly, yeah.
But where you really find success and you really make your money and you really protect families is that other bunch that are like on the fence.
Exactly.
The ones you got to bring back to that. But you're going to deal with a lot of rejection in this business, in any sales, right? How have you learned to manage that? I know you don't deal with it as much now, but you still do.
Oh, yeah.
Like people think, oh, you know, Gary or, you know, the top of Steve Giordano doesn't deal with rejection anymore. Yes, he does.
Yeah.
He just deals with it better than you do. That's why he sells more.
Yeah.
How have you learned how to deal with the rejection that we get in this business?
So I watched a video and I was like, oh man, how am I getting so many no's? But then I like watched a video on Zach Trudowski. Right? Shout out to him. And I watched his YouTube and it was like, hey, I just want to get 100 no's today. Or I want to get 300 no's today, right? Because you're eventually going to, when you're expecting no's and that's what you're looking for, you're eventually going to run into the yeses.
Correct.
You know?
Yep.
So I think my mindset too with that is, hey, it was kind of numb because it's like, hey, what am I going to do to help you? There was nothing these people were going to convince me, telling me that they didn't fill it out.
Right. Something
they did filled it out, right? And the best part is when these people give you the objections. Oh, yeah, I'll be gone at that time, right? They're like, oh, I won't be here anymore. It's like, well, no, you love your family. You love somebody.
Right.
You know, you filled this out. If you didn't, you wouldn't ask for help, right? You would have filled out for life insurance. You do love them. There's nothing you're going to do that's going to convince me otherwise.
Correct.
Right? And I think when you stand your ground with a lot of these people, they're like, oh, crap, this guy means business. Like, maybe he's going to help me, right? So I think a lot of it was just going into it, look for a lot of no's. Yeah. Because you're eventually going to run into yeses, right? You almost, then it's like, oh, the yeses aren't no big deal because you're looking for no's, you know, so.
Yeah, and we got, you know, people that try to avoid the no's, and then it becomes that much worse, right? Then when you do get it, it's like, oh, my God, I got the no. Like, who cares? Yeah. Go through it. Know your numbers. Turn it into a game. Yeah. Right? Like, I remember dialing, like, I would, all right, how many no's do I need to get 30 appointments? And in the beginning, it's a lot. And then the more you do it, it's less and less. Yeah. But to your point, to Zach's point, like, turn it into a game. Yeah. Exactly. And then you take almost the emotion out of it from that standpoint. And bring the emotion in where it counts. Yeah. When you're in the appointment. Yeah. Nothing. We are all like virtual telesales now, but we just say back, hey, nothing good happens on the phone. Book the appointment and get in the house. Exactly. Right now, are you doing one call close or are you booking appointments? I'm doing usually like a one call close if they're driving and stuff like that. Yeah. You know, I'll kind of get some info and I'll dig deep. You know, and I'll be like, hey, are you good at keeping appointments? Because I have so many people I got to help. Like, and I'm not trying to waste your time or take up someone else's slot that I can go help them. Yeah. So a lot of times I'll try to one call close them and kind of get in the details and just really try to book a solid appointment like I was doing in home. Yeah, yeah. A lot of my in homes too, when I changed it, like I was going in the house, I was either going to help them with life insurance, or I was going to get thrown out of the house. Right? Because if I was getting thrown out of the house, I explained the why enough. Correct. Maybe they couldn't handle it.
But when I thought that mentality of that, of, hey, I was going to help them with life insurance or I was going to get thrown out of the house, you started helping a lot more people because you didn't care about getting thrown out of the house.
Correct.
So you dug the deeper why.
Yeah.
You know? And then the sales just started happening.
Right.
You know, so.
It's, leave it all out there.
That's it.
Don't leave the house and go, I wish I would have said, or end the phone call and I wish I should have did this. Leave it all out there, dude. The only house I was ever called back to after not closing was a house where the guy asked me to leave. And he just was having a shitty day. He called me back the next day, left me this long voicemail. Hey, man, I'm really sorry about yesterday. It's just having one of those days. And, I do need the life insurance. Like, if you're willing to, would you come back out? So I call him up. I'm like, hey, man, you want me to come back out? Yeah, like, you're not going to throw me out this time, Mark. He's like, no, I'm so sorry. I went back, wrote him up.
Yeah.
Great guy. He's just having a bad day.
Yeah.
Like, don't take everything so personal. I think that's one of the keys in this business is whatever they're saying to you on the phone, if you're meeting with people in the home, whatever they're saying to you, don't take it personal. They just met you.
Yeah.
They don't dislike you, Gary. Maybe they're just having a bad day.
Exactly.
Right? Like, how do you manage that? Because they do say a lot of shit sometimes.
Yeah.
There are things that you're like, man, that sucks to hear, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But how do you not take that personal?
A lot of experiences I had with these people, the people that gave me the most pushback were the people that were the most thankful.
Absolutely.
Which is crazy, right?
Yep.
So a lot of people are like, oh, man. And that's where you go into that game, right? So, like, I'm thinking, oh, man, this guy's giving me so much pushback. This guy's going to be thanking me by the end of it, right? And he's going to be like, hey, Gary, I'm glad you're being persistent. I'm glad you pushed me. I know I needed this, right? Or they have an experience. So I think that's the biggest thing is just seeing that and, kind of getting the most pushback. I turned it, like you said, into a game. Yeah. So it's like, okay, you're going to push me. I'm going to give you a little pushback, right? And see where this goes because I know you need it.
Yep.
Right?
Absolutely.
You were either going to sell them or help them or they were going to sell you.
At 100%, dude. Somebody's always getting sold.
Exactly.
Like right now, we're trying to sell y'all on how simple this can be, right? Yeah. If you just subscribe to the right mindset. But everything's a sale. Yeah. Someone's always getting sold. You got your kid's young right now. Yeah. But when they get older, they're going to turn into a little salesperson. I promise you. My kids would all sell me on everything. Yeah. Why my daughter's telling me why she needs this new merch from this influencer, why it's so limited and this and that. And then why my son, why I need these new basketball shoes and these ones don't support my ankle enough. And I'm like, dude, like they're John Morant sneakers. Like they work, he's in the NBA and they're fine. But you're 15 in high school and they're not good enough for you. But everything, and I'm trying to sell them on why these are perfect shoes. You don't need another pair. But everything's always a sale. Yeah. Someone's getting sold.
That's exactly it.
From the minute they say hello, it starts. They're selling you on why they don't need it. You're bringing them back to that moment and selling on why they do. Yeah. And it's just a matter, are you going to get sold or are you going to be the one doing the selling? Exactly. And it's on a daily basis, right? Everything. Absolutely. You're either selling or you're being sold. Yep. And I think it goes back to what we talked about earlier is actually caring about your clients. Oh, 100%. Actually understanding the impact of what we do. And I do think that it is challenging to know the full scope of it before you get your first death claim. And that's something that, you can't control that. It will happen, I promise you. You sell enough life insurance. Definitely. And, to your point, you talked earlier about, your first one, but then this one you had recently that was very impactful. They don't get less impactful, if that makes sense. Like, dude, I've had a bunch I sold for years. Even now, I'll every once in a while get an email from someone I wrote a policy on, 5-10 years ago. And I'm like, oh, shit. Like, it still hits me. I still call them up like, dude, I'm so – because it makes it real again. Yeah. And it just brings you back to that moment, and you're just thankful that you were able to do the right thing in the house to protect these people. Yeah, and it's honestly, I kind of get a high off of it. Yeah. Like, I love being able to help these people and knowing that you did the right thing. Right. It feels it makes me feel good. Absolutely. So it's like, I love it. And if I can impact somebody and make a difference, right? Yep. No matter the circumstances of it, it's like you prevented and you helped a family. Right. Right.
and they love you for that. And then you probably honestly get referrals off of that.
Absolutely.
You know, so.
How many times have I had a death claim, went back, delivered a check, and then the person, the beneficiary, either wanted more coverage, wanted to cover someone else in their family because they realized, like, wow, look what this did in this situation. Now I need to make sure I have more. Or my son didn't have coverage. Let's get him something. Because it's, and not to discredit or any other sales, you know, company, industry, whatever, but dude, if I show up to your house and try to sell you a set of steak knives, dude, if you don't buy those knives, it doesn't impact your life. Like, okay, maybe, you know, the cheap steak you bought was a little harder to cut. Okay. You still ate the damn thing, right? Yeah. Like, if I don't sell you this box of Tupperware, you probably already have Tupperware in the house.
Yeah.
It's not going to impact your life, you know, at all, honestly. Yeah. No offense to anyone selling that stuff.
Yeah.
But if you're like, no, I want to sell something that really impacts the family, life insurance is what it is.
Yeah, no, 100%. I couldn't agree anymore with you.
And it's not required by law. Like, that's the thing that blows my mind is, like, you drive a car, you can't legally drive a car without car insurance, right? You own a home, you have to have homeowner's insurance. Even cell phones, you don't have to, but they make it seem like you have to. Like, dude, by the time I pay for this insurance for 8 months, I could have bought a whole brand new phone myself. Yeah. But they get caught up, oh, yeah, gotta get the phone insurance. Like, how crazy is that, dude, that the percentage of people that have insurance on their mobile device that's probably, they're only going to keep for a couple years, but they don't have insurance on their life.
Yeah, it's crazy to me. And I always say that to people, too. It's like, you'll insure your car, you'll insure your house, you'll insure your phone, but you won't insure your family's life? Like, that's crazy. Yeah. How is that not first priority?
Absolutely.
Right? And then it gets them thinking, and then they're thinking of all that stuff, and like, this guy's right.
Yeah.
You know, so it's kind of like it really painting the picture and bringing that upon people, you know, so then they start thinking that way because a lot of them probably don't, and they kind of push it to the side.
Correct.
You know?
You mentioned this earlier, getting uncomfortable, and I think that's the biggest thing that holds agents back because early on, it was very uncomfortable for me to sit down with you and go, so Gary, tell your wife what's going to happen when you pass away. Like, how she's not going to be able to pay the bills and where she might have to move to if you're not here.
Exactly.
After you've done it, you know, a few hundred times, it's a lot easier. But day one, holy shit.
Yeah.
I'll never forget the first time, now this is going back when we used to be in-home and we didn't have e-apps, right? We had paper apps.
Yeah.
Part of our sales process was we would build rapport for a few minutes, find, you know, same thing y'all do, find the why, find the reason why they need this. Hey, why'd you fill this out? All that good stuff. And the way we got into filling out the application was we literally just pulled the application out and said, hey, Gary, what's your middle initial? You gave it to me and started filling it out.
Yeah.
Now, I would have set them up prior to and said something along the lines of, hey, what we're going to do today is fill out an application, make sure you get approved, find out what you're eligible for, put some coverage in place, all this good stuff, right? I was new, dude. I was probably a couple months in. I was probably closing maybe 25, 30% of the people. So not horrible, not great. And then Sean called me one Sunday night. We're running on Sundays. And he's like, hey, dude, I got an extra appointment. I can't make it. You want to run it? I'm like, sure. And now Sean starts telling me, dude, this is the perfect couple. Like, they're in their 30s. They're, you know, new homeowners. They just had a kid. They both working. Like, this is a slam dunk. If you can't close this, you should just give up your license. One of those. I'm like, okay. So I get it. It's down in East Lyme. It's probably 7, 8 o'clock at night. I get there, and, you know, dude, it literally looked like a life insurance appointment from a movie. You know, you got the Raised Ranch house. You got it was like Christmas, like the decorations. The wife, hey, how you doing? 35-year-old couple, right? Newborn babies upstairs sleeping. We sit down at the dining room table. It's going according to plan. But up until this point, Gary, I never just pulled the app. I would always wait till you're like, so what do we got to do? Oh, we got to fill out an application. Okay, how long does that take? So I'd always do that.
Yeah.
Dude, the minute I walk in, though, she's like, hey, so just want to let you know that, you know, we don't do anything the first night. And I'm like, oh, my God, Sean lied. He told me that they were all ready to do this, right?
Yeah.
And so I start going through everything. And all I'm thinking in the back of my mind, you know Sean pretty well.
Yeah, yeah.
Dude, if I screw this up, I'll never hear the end of it, and I'll also never get another appointment from him.
Yep.
Right? So it's more just like the potential embarrassment, like, motivated me to, I got to do it.
Yeah.
So we get to the point of where I should be pulling the application out, right? So I said everything I was supposed to say. I used to write 3 options on the lead. Here you go. You know, the base plan, this one, and return. Yeah. And they're, you know, they're looking at them, and she's like, okay. She picks up the lead, the wife, and she goes, is your name and number on here so we can get back to you? I'm like, oh, man. She's like, or do you have a card? I'm like, oh, man. And I was like, no, but all we had to do is fill out an application. So I reach in my back. Dude, I'm like turning red, sweating. I put it on the table, and I'm like, what's your middle initial? Always start with the husband. And he gives it to me, and then she looks at, what are we doing? He's like, I don't know. I think we're filling out an application. And then finally it just like hit me. I'm like, yeah, we're going to fill out an application. Just find out if you're eligible, make sure you get approved. Yeah. And if everything comes back like I say, like I show you as today, would there be any reason why you wouldn't take this? And they start looking like, no, I guess not. Like if it's this price, you get approved for this coverage. Yeah. Would you? Yeah, no, I definitely would. But it was all me. That's the point. I was like, oh my God, awesome. If I just pull it up, they're gonna throw. No. Yeah. So if you're brand new, I guarantee you, whatever you're hesitant about, whatever you're struggling with, it's just you. Yeah. If you do it the right way, if you have the right mindset, and you speak with confidence and get out of your comfort zone, you will lead the appointment. Oh, definitely. You're the one in charge of that appointment. Yeah, and then they followed your lead. Absolutely. You know, so if you lead them and guide them, they're going to follow your lead. They're going to do what you tell them to do. Yep. You know, they just want your help. You're the only one with the license. And that's the best mentality to have is, yes, I'm the only one with the license here. I'm the professional here. Yep. Dude, I don't care if you just got licensed 2 weeks ago. Yesterday. It's fresh off the print. Yeah. You did the study. You did the course. You learned about the life insurance. You are licensed by the state to sell life insurance. Your client is not. Exactly. You know more than them. Exactly. It's like going to a doctor's office. Yep. I feel sick. What's wrong with me? Take these medications. Do you ever question them? Right. No. Like, I don't know anything about them. I'm like, yes, sir. This is what I got to take. Right? He's a professional, not me. Correct. So I just look at that perspective, right? Yep. Going in the house, you're the only professional. Absolutely. You know? But it goes back to what you said earlier is focusing on the right things, focusing on the problem. And the problem here was it's a married couple with a newborn kid. They're both working. If one of them dies, the other one's screwed. Yeah. That's a fact. Oh, 100%. And that's going to be a fact in just about every home. It's kind of like I say this about agents that join us. We talked about this on your True Talk a little bit. They don't come in wealthy, right? No. Like when you joined us, you weren't like swimming in money at home. Like, I'm bored. Let me sell life insurance. No, my wife was paying the bills. Yeah. You know, so. Yeah, your back was against the wall, right? You're like, I don't want my wife to be paying all the bills and, you know, for the next 2 years. Like, yeah. Like you said, it was a couple months. We're going to figure this out. Yeah. But you had no choice but to make money. Yeah, I had to. Just like our clients don't fill out forms when they have everything taken care of. Exactly. They know they need it. Yep. But it's your job to bring them back to it and focus on the right things. You know. And then people love that you care. They just want you to. They just want you to care. Yeah. Right? You can make 100 mistakes. At the end of the day, they don't care about the mistakes. No. They're just like, man, this guy's genuine. Right. This guy actually cares about my wife, Beth, right? For example. Yep. You know, and when they feel that over the phone, it's a little bit harder because you got to do a lot more than in person. Correct. Right? But when you show that and people feel that, right? Like when I was talking to an agent about it and she's like, wow, I'm ready to buy life insurance off you. Right. It's like, but that's how you should be. Exactly. You're more worried about the product, but you should be more worried about what it's going to do. Correct. Right? Because no one wants a bill. Right. You know, so I think a lot of it too, at the end of the day, if you don't build the why up big enough, that's probably going to be the first thing they cancel. Absolutely. You know, so it's not just a bill for life insurance. It's a bill to protect Beth. Correct. Right. From not leaving them, having the house being paid off. Right. And not having to worry about scrambling to the realtor because they don't care about the equity. Nope. If you don't make the bill payments in 3 months, they take the house. Right. Right. So that's what it's preventing. Right. Yep. So. And it's just, you know, being able to say those things, and it's going to be uncomfortable. I'm not going to lie. It's not uncomfortable. No, it's going to be. Yeah, it's gonna suck. Yeah, for a little bit. But the thing about it, like in that appointment, when I just pulled the app out, Gary, I was very uncomfortable. But when you're uncomfortable, you're growing. Definitely. And the only way to grow is to get uncomfortable. So So if it feels uncomfortable to say, hey, here's what we're going to do today. Yeah. Hey, let me know what happens when you pass away. Yeah. Walk me through that. Exactly. If it's uncomfortable, do it. Yes, definitely. Do it more. Find some way to get uncomfortable every day, and you won't stop growing in this business. Oh, definitely. The more uncomfortable you get and the faster you get uncomfortable every single day,
you're going to grow a lot faster, and you'll go through the learning curve a lot faster than I did, right? Just make mistakes, right? Learn, grow, get better. And I think that's the best way you can grow in this business fast.
Absolutely.
You know, so.
Absolutely. Well, dude, I appreciate you coming in and doing
Thanks
this.
for having me, man.
Absolutely. And I just appreciate what you're doing out there, kicking ass. January, over 35K sold. What are you going to finish February with?
February, I'm on pace. Week 1 was 15. I'm going to shoot for 50. I got to make Cancun.
Yeah.
So I got to make a push. I was texting Jasmine about it. I'm like, I got to push.
How close are you?
I got to do minimally 35,000 next couple months.
Okay.
So I'm going to push. I'm going to do, and not set that as a standard. I'm going to set it at like 40, right? Got to do 40, 40.
Love it. Did you go on the cruises either?
Yeah. Went on the cruise.
You can't miss this one, dude.
No, I know. And I already told my wife, hey, we got this Cancun trip. We're going, because she went on the cruise. So now it's putting the pressure on me. Like, I got to do it.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, well, let's end this so you can go make some sales.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely, dude. Anytime. Guys, thanks for checking us out. Subscribe if you haven't already. And ask yourself, what are you doing today to get uncomfortable? You know, and do that every single day. And what's uncomfortable now will become comfortable, and then you'll have to do more. So appreciate you guys checking us out. You know where to find us every week right here on The Next Level. You're registered for annual convention, FFLconvention.com. Registration's live. Last event, great event. Tickets, awesome. VIP, premier tickets sold out. They will again. So get registered as soon as you can, and we'll see you next week right here on The Next Level.